What's going on, guys? I got a couple of different types of plastics. When I first started painting, I always had trouble telling the difference of types of regular plastic and to raw plastic. And also there's different type of primers that comes from the factories and whatnot. And there's certain times when you can use wax and grease remover. And there's certain times that you can't do it because when you do use it and you're not supposed to, let's say the primer can't accept it, it'll re-soften the primer or whatnot. So I'm gonna go over a few things of these plastic parts and give you a few tips on how to tell the difference. Let's do it. All right, first things first would be a regular plastic and raw plastic. And the easiest way for you to tell the difference between these is raw plastic has a really nice sheen to it. And the difference between these are the raw plastic has like a mold chemical that's embedded in it from the making of it, from the whole creation process. So you have to get rid of that mold release or it'll release the paint later on. So that's the difference between a raw bumper and a regular bumper, which you can just normally scuff up with Scotch-Brite. So a raw plastic bumper, as you see, has a nice sheen to it and actually doesn't have any primer on it. And then this is a primed bumper. You can see it's not as reflective. So again, when you want to prep the regular bumper, you want to go ahead and use like a red Scotch-Brite. That's the best way to prep just any plastic. Gives it a mechanical bite. And whenever you want to do a raw bumpers are normally like foreign cars, like the Japanese, like a Toyota. This is a Toyota bumper. Let's see. Maybe like Lexus sometimes. Kias can be raw. And even like random like American parts could be raw. Like Ford, sometimes their mirror caps are raw plastic. So, and at the end of the day, if you still can't tell the difference between raw plastic and regular, you always can hit it with a Scotch-Brite, but you always want to do it in a place that really can't be seen because Scotch-Brites are really impressionable on these raw plastic bumpers. So we'll scuff a little bit, let's say for demonstration purposes, and I normally use red Scotch-Brite to prep a raw bumper, so we're gonna go ahead and just do it right here on the front. So I'm gonna scuff up this raw bumper, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna scuff up this regular bumper. And the easiest way to tell if it's raw or not is so you scuff it up and then you'll take a white rag or just any cloth and you'll wipe it. And as you see, there's really nothing on there. So like even if you wipe it, whatever, there's nothing on. Nothing comes off because a raw plastic bumper isn't primed. So now we come over to the primed bumper. And as you see, primer's coming off of it. Just another little helpful way to tell the difference. So real quick, the process to prep these raw bumpers is like using scuff paste and a gray Scotch-Brite with a water hose. It's raining outside, so you can use like a squirt bottle with water. That's what I do. You just want to make sure you keep it wet. And if you don't have scuff paste, which is really inexpensive, you should just go ahead and grab it. But if you don't, you can try using a Scotch-Brite and like soap and water. You just want to make sure that mold release is completely cleaned, and then also to use adhesion promoter. So after prepping the bumpers, the next process is to clean them. Often I use waterborne cleaner and wax and grease remover, but for my waterborne cleaner, I'll save that for the booth and I'll hit it with some glass cleaner instead. And then wax and grease remover, you have to be careful because sometimes the wax and grease remover will melt the primer. And the best way to determine if it can melt it or not is if you spray a little bit on your rag. You want to wipe a part that is not seen because this is technically like reactivating the primer. As you can see, it's taking the primer right off, as opposed to this rocker that has nothing coming off of it. This rocker is OEM and this bumper is aftermarket, and so sometimes you got to be careful because like I said, the aftermarket primers are sometimes not all that great, so you just want to make sure you test it first. And the reason why you want to test it is because you always want to use wax and grease remover on plastic when possible. You want to use as many chemical cleaners as possible because you want to keep the job as clean as possible, and it prevents having fish eyes. If you don't use wax and grease remover on a panel, or a plastic panel that needs it, and you just waterborne cleaner or whatnot, you'll have fish eyes. It might not be over the whole panel. I've had it over the whole panel, but if it's not, you'll have it in a certain spots here and there. It's just because you need to go through the process of using wax and grease remover and using waterborne cleaner. And like I said, I like to use the glass cleaner instead, at least give it like 2 wipes, you know what I'm saying? The glass cleaner first, and then I hit it with the waterborne in there since I can't use the wax and grease. So just a couple tips about different types of plastics, and you can check out some of the other videos that I made about raw plastic, and you can also drop a few comments, because that's the reason why I made this video, is because somebody had asked me in my comments from a while ago to tell the difference between the plastics and when to use wax and grease remover and when not to. So appreciate you if you made it this far for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Peace.